show you how to build a really simple app or a program where one can log in and log out. I actually just wanted to practice doing it, so I just thought of creating a video as well, hoping that it might help someone. So I'm going to use Rails for this, and with the Rails magic, it's pretty simple to create a scaffolding for the app. So I'm just going to call my app, let's say I'm just going to call it my app. All right, and with this simple line, it creates the app for us, has all the files or like folders that we need to start with. Hit enter. All right, cool. So it created all these folders. Let me cd into my app. I'm gonna view it in the editor. All right, cool. So as you can see, it created all these folders, right? And well, the important ones will be this app folder. We'll basically be working with models, controllers, of course, and views. So if you're familiar with the MVC framework, model, views, and controllers, so you probably get the idea how it's going to work, right? So what else is important? Okay, we will need this config folder, and inside that, the routes is where we're going to draw routes to the URLs. Or I mean, so we're gonna draw routes to the controller actions. Sorry, that, and we will be needing our gem file, right? We might. So there are already the gems that we need. What I'm going to also need is bcrypt. So that's just a gem that helps password encryption. It's just for security purpose. So I'll be needing bcrypt. What else do I need? We can check back on it as we go. So for now, I'll just uncomment bcrypt and just gonna run bundle install. Right. Cool. So what do we want? I'm just going to create so under readsme, I'm just gonna create or actually, no. I'm just gonna create a note on the side as into like what we will be doing, right? So we've already created a scaffolding for the app, so that one's done. So what do we want? We want to start with models, right? So what do we want for our models? Let's say we do want a user, and we're not gonna get to like the complex level. So I'm just gonna have a user model, and next we're gonna go on to controllers. All right. So for controllers, we will create. We'll need a users controller. Sorry, the user or users. I'm guessing it uses users. Little fuzzy on the naming convention. So controller naming convention in Rails. So I'm gonna look that up. Oh, just say a singular model name, plural controller. So okay, we're gonna have user, which is singular, and for controllers, we're gonna have plural, right? So it's gonna be users controller. Next, we're gonna have sessions controller. So we will need sessions so we can persist data from page to page, right? Well, that's the whole point of like having all this like logging in, logging out. So when we navigate from one page to another, so the program remembers who's logged in, and for that we have this thing called sessions in Rails. So we're gonna need that, and I'm just gonna create a static controller which will work with static page, like for example the root URL, which will just tell people to log in or sign up, right? And next we're gonna work with views. So what do we want to render? For views, so it will correspond with whatever controllers you have. So one will be the users folder, the other one will be the sessions folder, and lastly we'll have static, right? All right. And this one just does not sound right. Statics controller. I'm just gonna, since we don't have a model for that, so I'm just gonna name it static controller. All right, so under users views, what do we need? So we will need a new view, so that will render a page, that will render a form to create new users. We're not going to deal with editing since we're just looking into logging in, logging out. So we'll need a new file, and I'm just going to create a show file which will just take one to their page when they're logged in. All right, and for sessions it's going to be similar, so we'll need a new file which will render a form to create a session, right? That, right, yeah. And for static, what do we want to do? We're just gonna show a welcome page. So it's gonna be HTML ERB. All right. So we have the MVC set. What else do we want to do? All right, let's just get back to our editor and see if we can work this out. Oh, of course, sure. We need to create routes, right? Just gonna add those there. So what routes do we need? We'll need something for sessions, something for users, and we'll probably create one that's like a root URL. All right, cool. So let's head back to, first off, let's go to our models. Create our user model. So we're just gonna name it user.rb. And so user is going to inherit from our this class application record. So it's going to be inheriting all other methods that active record provides. So user, class user, and sorry, getting the syntax wrong. Application record, and that's all we need for now. So we have our model, right? So we need to create a table for our model. So we can do that from our terminal. There is this one-liner command. So it's going to be Rails generate migration create users table. So user is going to have a username, which is just going to be string, and password. It's just password, but once we use bcrypt, it's going to convert it to digest. So I'm just going to directly put that as the field or column in our table. and that's going to be a string as well, right? So I'm guessing that's the correct command. Let's see. All right, created this migration for us. Let's go and check it out. Cool, right? So it wrote this code for us with that one line, which is awesome. That's what I like about Rails. But anyways, so define chains, create table, uses tables. It's actually supposed to be just users. I think I got this part wrong. There you go. So we could have just written, I'm just going to do it again just to show you how that would work. So deleted that migration. Save, just going to do it again. Create users. So sometimes you've got to get the naming right. But you could have just edited it like I did earlier. But anyways, so there you go, right? So that's perfect, and we're just gonna run that migration. There you go. Cool, and we're just gonna verify that in our schema. Cool, so it created this table for us, right? All right. Now let's head back to, so we've created our model, our table. Let's head back to, what do we want? Let's just work with controllers. So what do we have in our notes for controllers? We want users, sessions, and static, right? So we're just gonna create those folders. Users, controller. It's supposed to be a file, not a folder, sorry. Users, controller. Sessions, controller, and lastly, a static controller, right? Cool, let's start with users. Controller, and it's gonna inherit from application. Controller. Controller. And what are the actions we need for users? We're gonna need a new, create, and a show. That's all we're gonna work with for now. And just gonna copy paste it to sessions. And we're gonna need new, create, and okay, I think we need a delete. Is it delete or destroy? Let me just look that up. Okay. I'm assuming it's delete action. Delete. It's actually destroy. All right, cool. Destroy. All right. And we have the static. Static. For static, we're just gonna need one page, right? We're calling it welcome page. So what this is gonna do is just gonna render a welcome page. We're just gonna write some pseudocode, so it'll help us later to write the actual code. So the welcome page is just going to render a welcome page where it's just gonna be like, hey, welcome. If you're logged in, it's just gonna take you to your page, or like the user's page. Or if you are not logged in, if not logged in, prompts to log in or sign up. If logged in, redirects you or the user to their page, right? Which will be our show page. Show. All right. So that's what static is going to do. The new will render a form to create a new user. And create is going to take the params from that form and then create a user. So, and show is just going to render the user's page. Create is going to take params from new and create a user. So what do you want to do when a user is created, right? Like from a end user's perspective, I want to be directed to my page. So let's just add that. There are two renders the users or redirects the user to their page. Before that, so when the user is created, we want them to be logged in, right? So logs the user in. This is just like the user experience point of view, where you can always do whatever you want. So that's users, controller. What have we not worked with? Sessions, right? So this is going to do a similar thing. New is going to render a form where one can log in. So basically they're creating a session. So this one will take params from new and logs the user in, and destroy is what we will be using to log the user out. All right. So we'll work with the session controllers. Let's just go to views. So we have the corresponding views for each action. So I'm going to create, so by convention, the folders are going to be named the same as the controllers. So if we are creating views for users, controller actions, so the folder is just going to be named users. And that's where Rails knows to look at when we're dealing with users actions. All right. So inside that folder, I'm going to create, we need a new file. Let me pull up my note. Okay. So what are we going to need? A new file, and we're going to need a show page, right? Yeah. So the show page is just going to be like, okay, hey, and we're just going to print out the person's name, username, and here we're working with instance variable. So instance variable are, they can permeate through this controller files to their corresponding view files. So, and the instance variable is, it has this symbol at, so that's how you know it's an instance variable. All right, so we're gonna have to define that in our controller action, of course. But anyways, so you get the idea that this is going to show on the page, right? Say hey, and whatever the user's username is. All right, I'm guessing the syntax, there's something wrong with the syntax, I think. All right, there you go. Okay, it's a simple formatting. And new is what it's going to do is it's going to be sign up, right? Because we're creating the user, and we're going to have a form down here, which we're going to work on later. But for now, I'm just creating like this simple view so we can render it on the page and we can see how it works. So we have the users views. We need a static folder. We're gonna need a sessions folder. Okay. So static is going to just have one file, which will be welcome. Right. It's just gonna be which one? Welcome to my app. And yeah, so that's all it's gonna say. I'm thinking, so our welcome page will have the login button, right? And a sign up button. Register. Something like that. We're gonna work with it later. Again, I'm just creating these like simple. I'm just adding. I'm just adding the simple layouts for now. So that was our static view. Let's go to sessions. So we're gonna need a new file, and we're gonna need for sessions. Is that all we need? Yeah, I think we just need a new, right? New form, and that's going to be or say login. All right. Cool. So we have our controller. This is the users. Okay, so we have our controllers set up, our views set up. What we're going to do is we're gonna create routes because we won't be able to log in. I mean, render the page if we don't have routes. Right. Let me just start the server. Actually, we're gonna create routes first and then start the server. So where do we go now? So it's going to be inside config folder right here. And the routes.rb file. So this is where we're going to create routes. We're going to use this very simple line that Rails provides. So this be like resources, users, and I'm hoping I'm getting the syntax right, but we can check later. Only new, create, show. Let's see if I did it right. Okay. So rec routes will show all the routes we have so far. If it works, it will show. And cool. So you see here it has, with that little line, that single line, resources, users, it created routes for me. So we have these three routes, /users, which routes to users create action. And we have the second one is /users new, which routes to users new action. And lastly, /users/ID that routes to users show page or the show action, right? So it has created all these three routes for me. We're going to do the same for sessions. And for sessions, we're going to only need new, create, and destroy. And I'm just going to draw one for the static page, right? Our welcome page. Get / or actually, I think, I'm not sure about the syntax. So we'll just look that up. Rails routes. root path. All right, cool. We have it here. So it's going to be root 2. So what this means is static. So what this means is so our main page is going to be the welcome page that is linked with the static controller. So whatever we have in the welcome view, like right here, that's what's going to render as the root URL, or like the home page, right? Okay, so now I think we're ready to render our pages, and I'm just gonna start the server Rails S, and let's see. Cool. So right now it's rendering this page, right? And this button is not going to work because we don't have the target URL placed inside. So let's work on that. How do we add? Just try post to I'm guessing this is how it's gonna work. Link to the login is going to take us to sessions new path, right? And you can always use this command, rake routes, to view what URLs you have access to. And you can do this to just view the sessions paths. And we have sessions, post, sessions create, new. So this is what we want, the second one, right? So the URL it has provided us is session/new, and we can just be like new session path. Let's see if that shows. So link to is just like a helper provided by Rails, which makes it easy for us to grab the URLs. Let's see if that works. And I'm just going to inspect as well to see. So as you can see right here, it seems like our href, or like your target URL, did not quite evaluate. I might have to add the equal sign, I'm guessing, and it did. Did it do it? What is the A? So that's what we want, /session/new. What is this A thing here, which I don't get? Href. Is this supposed to be that? Let's see. That did not work. Did it work? Okay. So I don't really need to put the attribute itself, because link to will evaluate as href, I think. Huh. What is this doing? Button href equals to slash. Huh. I might be getting the syntax wrong. That still did not work. Okay, link to. There you go. So I just needed this first argument. I think this argument is where you can pass in if you want to name the link, you can pass that in, but in this case, we're not gonna need that. So I'm just going to pass in like a blank argument, and the second argument is going to show as the route or the URL, as you can see right here, right? So if I refresh it, so if I click on login, why do I have this parentheses here? From here. Okay, there you go. And once I click on it, it should take me to sessions new, but so far, right, it should have taken me to sessions new. Why did it not take me there? Href. Let's see. Ahref equals to sessions log in. I don't need the anchor tag. To keep it simple, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove this button tag. Just going to name it login. This should work. There you go. Right, so I was just having some difficulty with the HTML part, but you can figure that out, I guess. We're going to do the same with this one. Link to register, and this should take us to, should route us to the user's create action. And for that, what's the URL? We're going to find out here. Spelling error. Whoa. So that should take us to, that should render the form to create a new user, right? Which would be this one, the /user/new. And we can write that as new _user_path. There you go. To refresh that, hit register. There you go. So it took us to this path, right? And login takes us to this path. All right. So that's working. What should we do next? So let's create forms, starting with new users. So what do we need for the form? So we'll use form tag. Can't remember the syntax. So I think it's like form _tag do f and f dot text field tag. We'll create a text field, and we need that for username. I might get the syntax wrong, but I'm just gonna type it out for now, and we can verify it if it works or not, right? It's been a while, I haven't done this. So, and we're gonna need a password field. Tag. And lastly, we're gonna need a submit tag. Submit. And, oh no. Register just to be consistent, because I think that's what we called in the beginning. And we're gonna close this block, right? So just gonna add some labels. Password. All right, let's see how that works. Refresh. Ah, okay, a syntax error. Huh. So we have a syntax error on this line. F.submit. It did not like, I think it's no comma. I'm gonna close this window. Okay, it says undefined method text field tag for nil. So let's look up form tags. And okay. And I don't like that one page. Let's go on this one. All right, cool. So you have label tag. Ah, we don't need this iterator. Okay, is that it? Let's check it out. Huh. Okay, we don't have the F. This is supposed to be submit tag. No? There you go. All right. So we have the form, and this is kind of driving me nuts. So I'm just gonna add breaks. Or even better, I'm just gonna make it paragraphs. Okay. Looks better. All right, cool. And while we're on it, let's just do that for sessions as well. Username, password, log in. Just gonna check that out. There you go, right? Okay. So once you, let's go to the users. So once I fill these fields out, add this info. Let's say I want to create a user named Creedy. I'm just going to capitalize it, Creedy. And once I hit register, it should send this info to users create action, right? Because this is where it's going to take in the params that it got from the new form and then create a user if the information is valid. And we're not going to get into details about like the validity of the information we're getting from the form, but the basic idea is that once you fill these fields up and hit register, this is where the information should hit, right? So hit register. And now the Rails is complaining that no route matches post user/new. So what that means is, so if we look at all these routes that we have so far, it's saying that the data should be going to this path, users, /users. Okay, now I get it. So what it's telling us is that, hey, there's like no path, like our form. What this action view helper form tag does is trying to guess for us that where we are trying to send the data. So it's guessing that there should be a URL /user/new with this method post where this data should hit. But as you can see in the list of routes we have here, we only have /users. And that's the one that deals with this action create, right? So it should actually be just that, /users, but it should hit the create action. So here, how we can fix that is like tell our form tag that we're trying to send it to /users with the method post. Oh no. Yep. Yeah, the action is create, method is post. We're telling it manually. That's where it should go. So let's refresh it. Still didn't work. Let's try it again. What did not work? Again, I might have gotten the syntax wrong. Method. Yeah, right. You give the URL in and the method, which is label tag. Okay. Why is it not? Maybe it is hitting the path, but we don't know if it is or not. So we're just gonna do raise params.inspect. So if the data is hitting this action, it will error out on this line, right? Let's create a new user, Barbie. Hit register. What is it doing? It's supposed to. Nope. We didn't save it. Flash it again. Let's see. There you go. So it is actually sending the data here to this action, but since we didn't have any code in there, so we were not seeing if it was actually doing it. So anyways, so now we can verify that it actually did, right? So since we're on that line, we can inspect and see what params we received. And as you can see, or here, you can see it here too, right? So the params that we are interested in to create a user are username and password. And now what we can do is we're going to create a user using those fields. And how do we do that? So we're going to create an instance variable so we can use it later to render the user's page. The @user equals to user create, and you have the username would be params username, and the password would be the params password, right? And once the user has been created, we're gonna tell Rails to redirect us to the user's page. And I think you can simply write that, or you can be like user path a user, I'm guessing. Let's look at the paths. So we have this path provided. So it could be user underscore path, or you can write this whole thing out. But I'm also guessing this is the short form for that. Let's verify, all right? It's all about experimentation. Okay, once you register, I'm running out of names. Matt. It's gonna be like Matt. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me comment that out. Unknown attribute password, because we don't have password field, we have password digest. I'm guessing. No? Password. Same password. Huh. Let's see. This is a undefined method username for new class. Just gonna verify if we created any users. I'm gonna go to the console. We do have one user. Undefined method username for a new class. I'm gonna put some binding pry here to pry into this variable. Why is it not pulling up its username? And check that out. Let's see. Create a new username. Pretty. Huh. We don't have pry. Let's go to that gem file. We're gonna need that pry to debug. Should be here. Whoa, we don't have pry here. We're just gonna add okay. Do you want me to restart the server? I don't know what's going on. Let's see. The wrong tab. Just going to restart the server and see if it hits the pry. Thought we had it installed, right? All right, I think you need to restart the server anytime you change like the gem file or your routes and stuff. So let's try that again. Really? Nope. Huh. Let's check and see if we have pry. Come on. You know, while I haven't done this, have I forgotten how to install a gem? Gem install pry. Yeah. And I don't see it here. I'm just gonna add it manually. Okay, now we have pry. I'm gonna restart the server. All right, I'll refresh this page. So check and see if those users persisted. Matt, Creedy, Billy. Okay. I'm just gonna create one called Tom. All right, now it should have hit pry. There you go. So let's see if it created a user. It did. And that user should have a username. It does. So why is our view complaining that it does not have that attribute? That is weird. At username. Users show. So you gotta tell this action about the instance, right? It's because create does not directly link with this file, the show HTML ERB. It's going to correspond with this action itself. And currently this action has no idea what @user is. So that's why our show file was complaining. Like for example, if I were to exit this, that's why it was complaining there's no method called username for this model. It's because this action has no idea what @user is, right? We gotta find a way to tell that. So we're gonna do this find by the ID, right? So now I'm gonna comment out or take the pry out and refresh. There you go. That's awesome. All right. So, okay, so far we've worked with the user's controller, like how to create a user and then show their page. Now what we want is our session. So we want, so for all these users who have already created accounts, we want them to be able to log in, right? And so let's go back to our sessions controller. So new is just going to render this form. So let's head back to our login page. So now let me sign in as Tom. I would just fill those fields in, hit login, and now it's complaining about the same thing, right? Which we saw earlier. It's the same, you don't have this path with this method called post. So when we log in, it's supposed to hit this action, right? Sessions create action. And the URL that represents that action is /sessions, and the method is post. So let's tell our form, like currently this form is just dumb, right? So we gotta tell the form that you'll be using this URL with this method, right? So now when we fill out those fields, username and password, it's going to send params to this action. And we can do that by, again, raising errors. Right, so let's see that in action. Tom. Cool. So it did hit this action, right? And we have our params here. The only ones that we are interested in are username and password. So what do we want to do with those params? If you think about it, we're logging someone in. So first, we got to find that person. And the parameter we can look up that person by is either their ID or the username. But right now, the params is providing us with username only, but not the user ID. Well, there is a way to send back user ID, but currently we haven't done that. So we can look up people by username. Well, you might want to implement that that users can only create accounts by unique username, so that way it'll be a unique parameter to look up someone by, right? Well, if it's not unique, then you might get like 2 or 3 or several numbers of users by the same username, and that would not be quite accurate for this purpose to log someone in. But currently, let's suppose that the username is supposed to be unique, so we can look them up by username. So what we can do is we'll do @user equals user find by username, and we'll just pass in this parameter as an argument. It's going to be params username, right? So once it finds that user, it also has to verify if the password is correct. So Rails provides us with this very easy method called Authenticate. So it's going to match this field, or like this information, with like the user's saved password. And if it does not pass, then of course one can't log in, or it's gonna resort to false, right? So we can check that. So we gonna need to have a user first by that username, and have that user has to have the correct password, right? For that, we're going to use this method, authenticate. So if both of these come out to be true, then log that person in, right? I forgot to use if. If not, what do you want to do? Just re-render the new page, right? There, just send them back to the login page. Or you can also send them back to that static, the welcome page, where it asks you to either sign up or log in, either way. But anyway, so we are more interested on line 11. So what do you want, what has to happen in order for someone to be logged in? So, I mean, if you're working with Rails, you must be familiar with the idea of session, right? So the session's gotta exist. So what we can do is, once the user logs in, so we're gonna create a session. The session's ID is going to equal to the user's ID. So that way we know there's a session that's going to exist. And what else do we want our page or our app to do? So once one logs in, okay, maybe we want to direct them to their page, right? Maybe one wants to see their page when they're logged in. But again, this is all up to you, like what you want to render. You might want to send them back to the welcome page, where it just greets the user but does not show the login and register buttons options. Or you can just take them to redirect to their own page, right? Which currently is this one. It's going to greet the user. That's it. Where did it go? Okay, I think this should work. Let's see. Session's new. So we want to log in as Tom. No, did not work. Undefined method authenticate for user ID 5. Huh. Authenticate. Ah, you're supposed to provide it with an argument, I'm guessing. Let's try this. because it's going to have to compare its actual password with this given param, right? So I think that's it. Let's see. Let's head back to sessions new. Authenticate did not work. Let's look it up. It's because I should have added a line in my model. So that user has secure password. I'm supposed to add that in order for that thing to work. And while we're at it, we're just going to validate our username too. Username. No, to be unique. Validate uniqueness reals. Uniqueness. Yeah, all right. Validates username to be unique. Now we don't have to worry about having duplicate usernames. So now we can actually look up users by username, right? All right, let's go back and restart this thing. Come on, invalid hash. Add user, find username parameters, add user at user.authenticate. Where did our page go? Let me look it up again. Authenticate method. Else. Authenticate. I think I'm supposed to provide both. Param, you're probably missing a bcrypt has secure. Authenticate params password. That's what I did. Oh, the password digest. Getting confused. Let's see. Nope. Invalid hash. User find by username. Perhaps username. Let's gonna try some stuff out here. User find by username. Let's see if it finds it. Username, user ID, username Tom, password digest. Oops. Password. Invalid hash. What does this mean? This means that the hash stored in password is not a valid bcrypt hash, including if the field. Okay, it seems like I figured out the solution, or actually what had happened. So when I was creating the users, the field that I gave and passed in here was password digest, but apparently it's supposed to be password, and that's what bcrypt is going to work with, and then create password digest out of it. Okay, so that's what was going wrong. So will probably work now. Let's see. So I destroyed all the users that I had created earlier. So we're just gonna start new. I'm gonna create a user named Tom, and that's his page. Now, if we go to the console, earlier what we were seeing is that the password would show, but it's not supposed to show. It's supposed to show as a hash like this, right? So now, I'm just gonna restart this. User.last was Tom, and now his password is shown as a hash, and I'm guessing it's gonna work now. So if I were to go to sessions, new, I'm gonna try to log in as Tom, and there you go, we're logged in, right? And if we kind of pry in and see if our session exists, which we can, I'm just gonna put binding pry there. I'm gonna create one more new user. There you go. It did not hit binding pry. User redirect to that user. How can we inspect that? So comment that out. And we'll see if it works. Oh, because we were creating users, we gotta log in and it would hit the binding pry. Because currently what we did was we were actually working with this action, not the session. We were not creating sessions, we were just creating users, right? Well, in the background, a session has been created already, or no, we haven't told it to create a session yet, so no. So let's try to log in and see. It's gonna hit that binding dot pry. So try to log in. Now we should be down in our binding dot pry, and we can view what our session is, which should be the user ID, right? Cool. So that's how we create sessions, and seems like we have succeeded in our purpose here. So I'm just going to take the binding pry out, and it took me back to my page, right? So something that's missing here is that when I'm on my page, I want to be able to log out, which means I want to delete the session when I'm done, right? So right now the session exists because I'm logged in, but there's no way for me to delete the session. So I'm just going to add a button there, which should be in the show page of the user. I'm just going to add links to some URL that deletes deletes the session, right? Okay. So that should create a link to log out. I just want to make sure that my path link to log out method delete. Wait, I'm supposed to give a path to it. Which should be, let's check it out. Rake that's sessions. And it should be this one, right? So it's just session path. So I'm guessing that is it. Let's see. Sessions. Do you mean sessions path? Undefined local variable or method session. Ah, it's two S's. Okay. And I just want to see. Data method delete href sessions. Okay, seems like it's about right. So currently, so if we hit log out, it's going to take us to the destroy action, right? Destroy action in our sessions controller. But currently, we don't have anything defined here. But so what do we want to do here? First off, let's just raise params dot inspect to see what data we're actually receiving after we hit log out. Okay. All right. No need to panic. It says no route matches delete. Huh. Delete sessions. Ah, it's supposed to be /sessions/ and the ID. So it is session path, not sessions path. Why you lied to me before? Did I read the error wrong earlier? Not sure. Well, it is past 12, so let's go back to our app. Let's go back to, what was my ID? Was it 2? Okay, so let's try logging out. Cool, so we did hit that action destroy, right? And these are the params that we got. So when we are trying to log out, what we are trying to do is end the session. So by that logic, what we want to do is we want to clear the session. I'm guessing it's session delete, and we just provide like the key of whatever whatever key that we're trying to delete from session. So we are interested in deleting, like the session has, when we initially logged a person in, what we did was we set this key to this value, right? So that's what we're trying to destroy. And I am guessing this is what it does. So session delete and the key will delete that value. So let's see, I'm just gonna call binding. After that, let's see if it works. I'm gonna go back to my page, try to log out, and it should have hit the binding. All right, and I'm gonna check if we have a session or session ID, and we don't, because earlier, we'll do one more thing. All right, cool. I gotta exit from here. All right, see how on this line we still have a session, which is 2. And now on line 23, when we look for session with that key, it's not there anymore. And that's when we determine that the person has been logged out. So from the user experience point of view, what do you want to render like after the person logs out? Right, it's up to you again, but I'm just going to redirect them to the root URL, which would be our static page, this one, right? So let's see that in action. And I'm going to exit out of this. Cool. All right, so here's our app. Try to log in as Greedy again. I'm logged in, I'm gonna log out, and there you go, you're back to the static page. And well, that's the general idea of how you can make this logging in and logging out work in an app. Of course, things can get more complicated. And like simple things like, as we saw earlier, I was getting my fields of my columns names wrong and stuff like that. Could easily break your program. But yeah, this was like, I just wanted to practice and see if I could do this easily. And I do feel like it helped me understand how it works, and hopefully it will help someone out there as well. All right. Thank you.